Because I changed the name. I'm gonna have to edit the name. Okay. Okay. I just have to send everyone the YouTube link.
Nice.
Yep. I changed the name. I'm gonna have to edit the name. Okay. And we're live streaming.
Nice.
And recording has officially started, and we can properly begin. One of these days, I'm going to get it perfect and where everything's just streaming just right. But today is not one of those days. But the show keeps moving. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Kareem Talks on YouTube, because Facebook is giving me issues today for whatever reason. I'm your host, Kareem. Today, we are in for a beautiful subject. Beautiful subject. And I'm getting ready to share the live. I'll send you the link so you can send it to your peoples. And then I'm going to send it to my peoples. Today, we have two topics, and these two topics are on opposite sides of the spectrum. Although there is a meeting point, in these topics. There's a meeting point. We will be discussing. The fine line between discipline and abuse, and particularly when it comes to parenting and how our generations can learn from this, learn better parenting, better communication, etc., etc. And down the line, we'll be talking about Disney. Don't ask me how those two are going to tie in. They're going to tie in absolutely wonderfully, especially when you see the title of this. Enough about the topic. I chose this topic because, we came to the consensus of this topic because the guest, my guest, who I have the honor of bringing back on the show officially, this will be her first episode, but she's been on before unofficially when I was doing my little stint on IG Live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming to the Kareem Talks podcast. Stuttering over my words. Oh my Jesus. Welcome, Sister Siyyan, to the Kareem Talks podcast. We don't have any audience button yet. One of these days, I'm gonna get a soundboard and you get the little audience stuff. But that's all you get for now. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm good. Amidst the setbacks, but I'm good. All praise is due to Allah. How are you feeling?
Great. Ready to talk about it,
Praise be to Allah. Let's begin. What inspired you to be interested in this particular subject? And when it comes to parenting, especially when the discipline or abuse, lack thereof discipline, comes into play.
Well, I saw somebody on Twitter basically make the point that it was start off with spanking, and how spanking has to be derived from slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think about it. And then, people on Twitter love to be like, well, I got spanked and I turned out just fine. And somebody was like, no, you don't. You have emotional trauma and you bring that into your relationships and friendships, and you're still dealing with it to this day. And you refuse to go to therapy. And I thought about it. So I asked on Instagram, I was like, will y'all spank y'all children? And a lot of people who's my age, I'm 18, were like, no. Or if I do, it's for a very, very necessary reason. And children do a lot of things that require me to pull out the belt and just automatically start wailing. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
and I don't feel I'm not spanking my children. That's just the personal thing I've decided on, and I don't see myself changing my mind. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't think it's almost never as necessary as we make it seem like.
Mm.
I do agree with the whole deriving from slavery thing, because it's like your first reaction after you don't get it to go the way you want is to be like, come here. And you notice like with Black people, it's like, I can't wait to have children so I could be all like, and it's like, it's never like a positive thing. It's so basically like, so I can give what my parents gave me, which is not a positive response. And it's
Mm.
actually very scary to be like, I can't wait to basically essentially
Beat the hell out of my kids.
yeah, like
Children, not kids. Kids are baby goats.
yeah,
Goats are mischievous. They're
yeah.
children.
So like
Mhm.
it's basically like, I can't wait. And it's like, no, that's not the right. And it's basically like people talk about like generational curses and like relationships like that.
Mhm.
But like you want to have kids, children, see, children.
Mhm.
Oops, sorry. You want to
All
have
right.
children, and the first thing you want to do is basically give what you get, basically, because you couldn't give it to your parents. So you're giving it to like the next generation. And that's not
Mm. And it's like a cycle of pain and hatred and abuse. Um, I'm glad we got all of that out because, like we were discussing before, there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance, and for me personally, when I do become a parent in the future, not immediate future, just got married, not trying to have children yet. What's for you is for you. What's for me is for me. Um, as far as disciplining children is concerned, um, I do believe in corporal punishment. I will, if necessary, you know, discipline my children that way, but only if it's absolutely necessary, you know. Because one thing me and my wife value is communication. And, you can't just beat the heck out of somebody and they don't have the information as to why or what they did wrong. You know, that's
it gets you nowhere. It just
it doesn't.
you sit. It just
You induce fear. You
yeah,
induce fear within the child.
because like you can be somebody's parent all you want, but if your child does not trust you or
Hmm.
comfortable around you, or like your presence gives them anxiety, you did something wrong. Like,
Hmm.
like it just there needs to be some type of balance. And everybody loves to be like, oh, spare the rod, spoil the child. First
Hmm.
of all, that is a metaphor, and I will stand on it. I will die on that hill if that's a metaphor. It's not like my
No, spare the rod, spoil the child does not necessarily mean sparing the rod and spoiling the child means you're not doing anything. You're letting your child walk all over you. They're getting away with murder.
yeah, and that's like, and it's like you just be like, I'm not gonna say anything to ever, just do whatever you want type of thing, or your child
Exactly.
not
People will
acting
take that
right.
and use that to beat the mess out of a child. And like I said, this is where the balance comes in. You know, hell, we can talk about how God, spanked the people. There was always a
But
warning.
to that point
There
is,
was always a warning. There
as
was
we have
always a
all the
warning.
books, we have people, the Jesus in our midst, we have all of this information that is telling us what to do correctly, and then we choose to do the opposite of it, and that's when Allah says, okay, wildfire, because you want to act right. Like that's
Not
what
the wildfire,
like
but to your point, that's how it is. You can't. And a lot of it stems from the parents who raised their children like that. That's kind of how they were raised too. And then before that, it just became a thing. And to your point, you really had me thinking when you were talking about it being derived from slavery. Of course, we know why white people really. We know why the Caucasians then beat our people. They had absolute utter disdain for us. It wasn't out of any. It was to keep us in line because they feared. The moment we got smart, I mean, they were dead. So they had to do it to put fear in us, to keep us obedient, to make us not question anything.
And like, if you think about it, that's all. First of all, that's all we knew.
Mm-hmm.
Coming here, our ancestors, that's all we knew is and it's become this I'm doing it because I love you type thing. Because when you only get abuse, you equate it with love. So when like people
Mm-hmm.
in like relationships, they're like, I don't know what this positivity and communication, all this is, because all I've ever known is the opposite. It's not, it doesn't make it right.
Pain.
Yeah, and it's become this thing that it's a Black people thing. Like, if your child tells you to respond like a Black person, it's not. That is something, that's a narrative that got pushed on us by the way we gotten treated, and we never got the healthy version. We're very lovable and compassionate people by nature,
Mm-hmm.
and it just like
We're abusive by circumstance.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm.
So like, to be like, this is a Black person thing, that's something that's not who we are. We got put in a position where that's all we knew, and that's all like, we're born into slavery, so all you know is being scared. And like, for example, for slave masters wanting to put fear in us is because they're afraid that we're going to rise up and leave, or like they would be dead, like you said. A more toned down version of that is, you're afraid that your child is going to have an opinion or something to say that will challenge you and what you think is right, because you think that a child has no right to disagree with you, even if you may be wrong. So it's really like, don't you dare talk back to me, even if it's not like talking back. It's just like, well, I'm just trying to tell you that this is this and this and this. And you could be respectful as you want it, but the fact that you're disagreeing with me kind of like puts me on a lower pedestal, kind of. And it's like, being wrong is another thing that we gotta learn as a people. Is being wrong doesn't make you a worse person. It's a whole life is a learning experience. So we should be willing to learn from people who are younger than you, older than you. It just, if you're learning, that's when it doesn't matter who it comes from or what it comes from. If you're learning something and it's right, you should be able to take it. But you can't, because you have this like hierarchy in your brain. When a child is correcting you or telling you I disagree or something like that, it doesn't mean that they're like, you're a terrible person and you're wrong. It's basically just being like, well, this is how I feel about this, and it's not supposed to be coming off with disrespect. But the first
And you
thing
have to be able to.
back to me,
We don't. It's not seen as an opportunity to have a conversation. And I'll never forget, one of my uncles, student minister Patrick, was talking about, how his children initially, he used to be, it's my way, or, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember it verbatim, but he took the time out once to, when children had an opposite opinion, he took that time out for once to actually have a conversation and listen, and then he learned. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have to get out of, and this is for everyone, this is not for just parents, we have to get out of our way is the best way.
Because you, as much as like,
You don't know.
You could be right from your perspective, but once you hear the perspective of somebody else, you could be like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm not correct in this. And it's like, a perspective is very important in all walks of life, but especially as parenting, because it's like, your child is somebody who has to go through what you're putting on. It's not just like, it's like, if I'm telling you, I feel like this hurts my feelings, or I'm trying to tell you that I'm trying to do this, that's why I did that. I wasn't trying to disrespect you. I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just trying to figure it out for myself. And even like, especially like with younger children who are babies, and the first thing they do, right, is they cry. First thing you do is get them what they want immediately, because you don't want to hear them crying. They're used to that cycle of, every time I do this, I get what I want. So when they're like 4 or 5 and you tell them no for the first time, and they're like, what? And they're confused and they throw a tantrum and they instead of being like, get up, are you talking back to me? Are you telling me no? They're not trying. It's 5-year-old's first mind isn't, I'm gonna disrespect my mother right now. It's, I don't understand why you're telling me no. The whole time you've been giving me every single thing that I want, and now
Why this luxury stopping?
Yeah,
Stop here. I
when
was
did
enjoying
the
this.
line get cut? Like,
Hmm.
what happened?
All my benefits gone.
Yeah, right. So it's
Exactly. Hmm.
so that's when you be like, okay, I'm telling you no, but let me tell you why I'm telling you no, because you could get hurt doing this, or you just had some food and you're gonna get fed later. Why are you trying to get like a third juice box on a Tuesday afternoon? Like, it's explanation. It helps people understand because, like, once again, if if we just got like
And then explaining it, and
and
then explaining it properly. There's
yeah,
a difference between telling them, well, we don't waste food because food costs money, and hey, they're starving Africans that don't have anything to eat. Why are you throwing this crust away? There's a, you feel the difference.
right.
You're not thinking about the starving Africans. You're thinking, I didn't want this crust, so
That's
I
what I'm
threw
saying.
it away. And then the thing would be, though, food costs money. You're gonna learn in the future that these things cost, and when you find out how much they cost, you're not going to want to waste it.
And like honestly, just give it to your sibling. I'm sure your sibling will eat it. I'm
Something. Do
I'm
something.
the child
Feed it
that
to the
throws the crust
birds.
away.
Something.
I'm the child that throws the crust away. I'm like, I don't. But my brother was born, and now he eats my crust for me. Just like what?
Exactly. But there's a way. There's a way of explaining things. But I think the difference is we've come up, especially nowadays with tech and everything. There's no way things can't be explained properly. There's no
Especially
way.
that's why this generation is so important because we've gotten this type of sensitivity
Mm,
and social media. We've gotten an exposure to different types of people and different types of perspectives. Whether we believe the same thing or not, there's something to learn from every single person. And we've learned the importance of mental health and how you say things and how certain things that people say can stick to you and that kind of
hmm
like we're talking about the fine line between discipline and abuse. Abuse isn't always physical. The stuff you say to your child can affect them in the long run, affect how they think about
And
themselves, their self,
it's not even children.
and it's not like
It's not even just children. It's everyone.
every
I use myself as an example. Of course, we in the Nation of Islam, we're not necessarily pro LGBTQ.
mm,
We aren't, but though we still have our brothers and sisters who are in that camp, who we love very, very much. And from a personal standpoint, I have relatives. I have a sister that is gay. I have a cousin that is gay. And even though I don't condone these practices, they're still family and
mm-hmm,
I still love them.
mm-hmm.
And I have to find a way to tell them I don't support this, but if this is your life, that's between you and the God that you serve. I'm not in any position to condemn you because I'm trying not to get condemned myself.
There are plenty of
You
things
know?
that people can condemn each other for. So it's really just like, you know, there's that. And
Hmm.
it's just really with, but especially with parents, though, a lot
Hmm.
of things that you say is because I put you on this pedestal of this person that I've known my entire life that's been taking care of me, and everything that you say
You're
means,
coming in a little low.
oh, everything that you say, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Everything that you say means something a little bit more than the next person. So I'm putting everything that you say basically as law. So when you tell me something like this, something that's like rude or something that's like very like damaging, like oh, because I know that we be like okay, we're gods and we need to study and have shades. Da, da, da. When somebody is proud of an accomplishment or your child's proud of an accomplishment, like they got a B on something that was really really hard and they tried really hard, they tried their best. You can't get an A. Why didn't you get an A?
Mm.
Man, I got a B. Like it was so hard. I studied so. You could have did better than that. Where's the A?
Mm.
Now it's like I'm killing myself to freaking study and get this and da da da. And it's like, and to get, because I just want your approval. And then when it gets to a point where you're more self aware and you're like, this, when you said this, it hurt me. And it made me think of myself a certain way. And da 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 da. And then your reaction is to be like, what is, like, I hurt your feelings. That hurt your feelings. That's sensitive. That's too sensitive. I didn't hurt
Mm.
your feelings. I didn't even mean it like that. Basically taking everything that your child says as a personal attack on you and your character instead of thinking about their feelings and it's like, I'm not coming at you.
It reminds me.
Feel this way.
It reminds me of when the minister, even after he's done saying what he said, and he could have said something real like, fire. You know how he just goes in hard in the paint, and then near the end of his lecture, I apologize. He apologized for who he may or may not have offended. Because he doesn't mean to offend, but the truth has to be said regardless, of circumstances. But he doesn't go out of his way.
As a parent, sometimes you'll yell. Sometimes, we're not going to disregard the fact that parents are adults too, and they feel things. And sometimes your emotions will get the best of you. We try to rise above emotions, but sometimes they'll get the best of you. Sometimes you're frustrated, You have to be able to come out of yourself and apologize to your child if you did not mean to. Because it's like, okay, but I didn't mean it. You didn't voice that though. You didn't tell me. You got to be able to come out of yourself and your pride and be able to be vulnerable in front of your child and be like, I apologize for the way that I said that, but what I said still stands, and because you are afraid to be vulnerable in front of your child or not show them that side of you. You're going to raise children that don't know what vulnerability is, can't handle emotions, are very secluded, or very either way secluded, or children that lash out and don't have any type of apologeticness, any of that in their own relationships. And it's a cycle. Once again, we talk about the cycle of basically Black parents love to be like, I feed you, I give you clothes, I give you shelter. That's all I need to do.
That's not enough.
You need to be able to raise accountable, emotionally intelligent, good people, because it starts at home, and the way that your child is going to handle everything is reliant on you. Bringing a life into this world is a big responsibility into itself, but creating a human being and a good human being comes into that responsibility, and you have to be able and know how to. And if you make some mistake, because you're going to make mistakes, everybody always loves to say that parenting is on the job training. You have to be able to correct your mistakes, even if you don't if you feel that's oh, I'm now a bad parent because I made this one mistake. Once again, on the job training, you're going to make mistakes, but you have to be ready to apologize and be able to be humble. Humility comes into everything. It does. And that's why we study it. Humility comes into everything. And just because your child is younger than you does not mean that you don't need to be humble. And just acknowledge that their feelings are feelings.
Yeah, the balance. Exactly. And it's funny because we have 3 minutes before our commercial break. What's funny is that this Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talks about this being the greatest generation. We just needed to be properly taught and educated. There's a way to go about reaching this generation, and you can't do it by relying on the things of yesteryear. Otherwise, and you see it everywhere. It's not just parenting, although that's our specific topic. It's not just parenting. It's with the resurrection of the dead. You're not going to reach the people. How do I describe it? You ever walk and see the Hebrew Israelites on the corner? And of those my brothers, I love them very well. But the way they talk down to the people on the corner, and then at the same time telling them to repent, it's counterproductive.
Right.
And going back to my earlier point, knowing the Nation of Islam does not support LGBTQ. We don't condone homosexuality or anything.
You don't come out and be like, "Hey, you sinner!" That
exactly. You can't be like, it's wrong. We can go into the ways that it's wrong, how we've been taught. But at the same time, are you going to be able to reach those people and change them by saying, hey, what you're doing is wrong, and if you don't stop doing it, you're not going to make it?
Yeah, because first of all, a sin equals a sin, and your sins will equal, it's not, no sin is greater or lesser than the other.
Exactly. They're all on an even playing field, but we tend to fluctuate them this one is worse than that one, and then this one is not as bad as this one.
Right.
It's and I had to learn that, especially when I had to humble myself because, especially now having relatives of that, I couldn't just say, "Oh, you all are going to hell. You all are not going to make it to hereafter, etc., etc." Because God is looking at me like, "Well, what makes you think you exactly that Snoop Dogg video? Is it? Did you get right with your Lord? Is it? Are you right with Jesus?
Right.
Hmm, hmm, hmm." And it's like you really have to focus on making yourself a better human being, a better person. And then when people see that you're trying to reflect God in the best way possible, it makes them easier to come to you. Children especially.
Children
They're
especially.
not going to come to you if they see what you have, the energy that you're projecting. I'm tripping over my words. The energy that you're projecting is repelling. They're not going to come to you. If your energy is abrasive, it's oppressive, it's negative, they're not going to flock to you. And children, teenagers, and young adults, we see that, and we're just like, no, we don't want to be around this person. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
But if your spirit is attractive, it's welcoming, it's kind, it's understanding,
Mm-hmm.
then that's the type of person you want to be around. You'll go around, you'll spill your guts to this person, and you only known them for like what, a couple weeks.
And it's very much, it does create a dangerous type of thing in your
Mm-hmm.
child to latch on to any type of understanding nature because they didn't get it at home and trust the wrong people because somebody could fake an understanding
And
nature.
take advantage.
So you're like, I don't know what that feels like, but I like that you do that. So I'm gonna keep talking to you. I'm gonna trust you, and basically misplace that my trust because I don't know what that feels like. I never got that at home, and I have nobody else to. Because like people with like childhood trauma tend to overshare
Mm.
and just talk and talk and tell everything, and it could be the complete wrong person to tell. Somebody that'll judge you, somebody that'll talk mess about you, somebody that'll spread your business, or it's just somebody who will use what you told them and manipulate it against you privately, not even like a public offense, but just privately. I remember you told me this about your childhood, so I'm gonna use that same tactic on you because you let me know everything about you. It literally everything that happens in the home set you up for how you're gonna go on in life, and you don't want, like, it's not like I'm saying that a parent who does things like this doesn't love their child, because you would never want your child to be in that situation, but it's really just like self-awareness is very important.
Exactly.
Look at the man in the mirror, like
Starting with the man in the mirror. I just, sorry, had to do that. Had to.
just like
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to take accountability and be like, this is not okay. Especially like if you stop children in your house, it's not too late to change things. It may be a little uncomfortable for your child to have like a complete switch, but it's necessary. It has them facing things and basically readjusting to how they think life is going to be or how people are, and because like once again you could either have there's two separate sides of the spectrum: a child that trusts everybody or a child that trusts nobody and is afraid to open themselves up and completely secluded and don't talk to me, I don't trust you, and they won't let anybody in. Or the people on the other side of the spectrum let too many people in and be too trusting and continuing to getting hurt and hurt and hurt and hurt, especially if you look for people with the same traits as your parents. Yep.
Yeah, this is a lot.
Traits as your parents, and you keep getting in that situation, and you don't know what's wrong, especially if you lack self-awareness, or you like honestly, if you don't go to therapy and you just doing whatever, like you're gonna keep going. You're not gonna know what's going on in relationships, and then it's kind of like, is it me? And self-esteem goes down. It's a lot. It goes into a lot.
By the way, guys, get audited by the right person. By the right person, get audited. Get audited. Closing with that, we're gonna stop for a commercial break. This is Wonderful conversation. This is a very healthy conversation. I'm taking notes in the back of my mind as the future parent. But we're gonna cut to commercial. And we'll be right back. If you can mute your mic, please. Thank you. Peace. This is Kareem from Kareem Talks, and I'm here to tell you about Miller's Make Supply Co., a black-owned business that specializes in beard oil for men. Peace. This is Kareem from Kareem Talks, and I'm here to tell you about Miller's Make Supply Co., a black-owned business that specializes in beard oil for men and facial toner for women. As you can see, they have various different scented oils, guaranteed to smell absolutely wonderful and do wonders for your beard and for the women for your skin. And these are actual ratings. It's been said to be the most hydrating toner and the best toner that the ladies have ever used. And as you can see, that brother is happy with his beard oil. So go to millersmake.com, check out some oil. Beard oil for the men, like I said, in various different flavors, if you will. And for the ladies, facial toner that smells absolutely wonderful. Get you some today and support a black-owned business. Peace. Good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening. Peace, ashe, and assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Kareem of Kareem Talks. You know, that wonderful podcast you're listening to? But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about aretheywoke.com, a website that was built by my uncle to house conscious clothing as well as conscious branded merch, such as How to Eat to Live, and 1,000 facts about the Negro. But let's get back to this wonderful looking clothing that allows you to define who you are. We have things for the men, we have things for the women, we have things for the children, and it's all conscious oriented merch. So I'm telling you, as someone who owns a hoodie, and it's a comfortable hoodie by the way, go to aretheywoke.com. Ladies, get you a queen shirt. Brothers, come get you some of this merch. Because I'm telling you, it's conscious oriented, it's comfortable, and you're going to love it. Peace.
Hi, my name is Raiden Scott.
My name is Yasmin. It's Ramar X. Allen.
Go to the Homeschooling Society.
Go to the Homeschooling Society. I attend the Homeschool Society.
Greetings. My name is Sabbath Muhammad, founder, owner, and CEO of the Homeschooler Society, LLC.
Here at the Homeschooler Society, we pride ourselves in bringing full and complete understanding to all of our students. Our method is simple, not moving on until the child fully understands.
I do what I do as an educator because I remember when I was in elementary school, middle school, and high school. I remember teachers and educators not showing as much care and patience as they could. This widespread way of teaching drives me to do what I do.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Did you all enjoy those commercials? Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Wonderful. You were able to hear them, right? Yes.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was good.
Wonderful. For those of you all who are looking to have your black-owned business featured on the Kareem Talk podcast, go to the Kareem Talks podcast on IG. We have our subscription plan, $3 for a week, $6 for a month, $18 for 3 months, $60 for a year. not podcast, your business will be featured on my show for as long as you have subscribed. And for any additional advertisements you'd like to throw on with the original, I'm tripping over my words. It's $1 for each additional. So it's a good deal. Also, I have merchandise. Welcome to creamtalks.com. Hoodies, mugs, hats, sandals even. Buy some merch. Your man's just trying to make money. I'm a married man now. But enough of that. Back to the show. We were talking about the fine line between discipline and abuse and how it can affect generations of children and adults even. And we are getting ready to sort of segue into our Disney part because there were a lot of movies that kind of reflected that reality. And one of them was Cinderella. That was the prime. Like, I can't think of any other Disney princess that was abused besides Cinderella.
Not Ariel?
Ariel was...
Because Ariel got abused by her biological father. I see what you're saying, but I would see it more of him trying to be overprotective and doing it wrong. But I can see where it could be seen as mental abuse because of how he went about it. Fear, basically, when you destroy, because remember the scene where she found her little thing of trinkets, stuff like that. When you destroy a child's belongings, basically is sending the message, one wrong move and this could be you. That is physical abuse if I've ever seen it.
Well, that's like that's I can see that. I can definitely understand that. I think from my side, as far as Ariel, why I didn't count it because he was trying to protect her from quote unquote humans. Humans are bad, which was a prejudice. Not all humans are bad, just the white ones. Not all humans are bad, but he had never seen that. All he knew was the sea, and he wanted to protect his daughter. He did it wrong. He did absolutely wrong. But that's what he was trying to do. But as we learned, even in trying to make sure, your children are doing the right thing, we can do the wrong things and ill affect them, and in turn lead them down the wrong path.
Completely off the path that you're trying to put them on.
Right. Unintentionally, which is why parenting has to be not changed, but it has to be updated.
Yeah.
Right down to the modern time. The minister couldn't just rely on word of mouth anymore for his lectures. That's why he got on social media, and they kicked him off.
And even
his impact was too great.
Like with modern time, like you said, like the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad could be like, white people are bad. Come in here. Because we were in the streets with getting attacked by dogs and hot coffee thrown in our face. There was no other option. In modern times, we have the we stand with you, we're with you, Black people movement. They're not, Black people aren't so obviously racist. And then we have all these things that are supposed to be bad in our eyes, like drugs and all that stuff that's getting like marketed to us as a coping mechanism and stuff that's not like, oh, we didn't that it's a plant and like stuff like that. More stuff is getting marketed to us. It's now open to us. There's places that we can go. So instead of looking at it like, y'all just want to be disrespectful so bad, you got to think about it once again, perspective, looking in other people's shoes and eyes and being like, what would this look like if I didn't have the teachings? Because we're very privileged people being born into this.
We are.
Access to this. If I didn't have access to this, wouldn't I not be in the same exact shoes that all these people are in? And it's really like that with children too. It's like if I wasn't without social media and if I wasn't without FaceTime and access to all these things, would I not be the exact same person that my child is? Like, and understanding that and empathizing with that and also enforcing different things, but in a kinder way, because the fear thing does not work. It does not work.
Not nowadays. This is the fearless generation.
If your child fears you, I do want to say you're doing something wrong. Fear does not equal respect. It doesn't. So if your child is like scared of you, I want to reevaluate that a little bit,
And that's what we all, we always make the joke that you got to put the fear of Allah in them and all that good stuff. There's a line that fear that we have is the fear of disappointing Allah and not meeting the standards. That is the fear, not the fear of Allah's going to strike me down with the wheel and all of his baby play. No, that's two different. That's two different things.
I'm scared that I'm going to look a certain way to you. I'm scared that I'm going to lose your trust. I'm scared that you and my have this
lose my favor
anymore. Yeah, that's what I'm scared of. I'm not scared of you as a person. I should not be, because that's like
you're making a God besides God, and that's bad.
That man, like it's. I don't have like that's yeah.
And you don't. That's the last thing you want to do, because we're supposed to be taught to fear no God but Allah. If you are instilling fear into your children towards you, and it's the type of fear that doesn't develop you into anything, it stunts your growth. It's like that. Allah is like, you're ruining them. You're ruining them. You're ruining it. Look what you did. Now I have to do all this other work on the side to try and bring them back. Thanks for a bunch of nothing.
When you have like a bad parenting experience, your entire life is going to be a reflection of what you did not get or did not understand, or the knowledge that you not receive as a child. You're going to get that in your entire life experience until you get the message, until you get it. And if you're in a position where you can't learn the lesson effectively because you're still under like your parents' thumb, and so you're getting the same thing from all these directions, and you're like, well, what do I do? And once again, like I said, you're gonna start thinking, is it me? Like, am I the issue here? What's going on? And it's like a lot of times I do want to go into this too. With Black parents, we disregard mental health issues. And mental health issues, first of all, they're not the greatest thing, but they aren't like they don't exist is like, because once again, they can be formed. You don't have to be born with it. They can definitely be formed with the amount of trauma and the amount of issues that you go through, and you can give your child a mental illness
unintentionally.
And it can be, and it's unintentionally. Like, once again, I'm not saying that parents are bad but because of the cycle that we have been a part of all these years and generations, and now it's being marketed to us on social media that it's just a Black people thing, and it's just how Black parents do, and POC parents, because I know Hispanic parents and Black parents kind of parent the same type of way. It's just like it's a cycle, but it's okay to break it. It's okay to break it. Breaking generational curses.
That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're about. That's why conversations like this need to be had. So we're not carrying anything negative to give to the future generation who's relying on us.
Like, unfortunately, we're the example. Unfortunately. And like, in some ways it's a good thing, in some ways it's a bad thing. But we are the example, and hopefully we don't want the next generation to have to go through every single, because they have other things that they need to do as a generation. Like, every generation has a purpose. They have other things that they will need to deal with, and we don't want it to be this on top of that. like
when Obama moved into the White House and Bush was like, hey, here are all these problems, I'm just gonna give them to you real quick. The generation that's coming up can't focus on what we had. They have things that they have to do too, and we have to set them up properly.
You know how like you die with debt and then your children have the debt on them type of thing?
That sucks.
Yeah,
that's basically want that for my child.
It's basically what that is.
That's why I'm establishing good credit now.
We're not even going to talk about how we don't even prepare children for credit in school. Let's start there. I
had to learn the hard way. I have to learn the hard way.
Like,
And I don't ever want my children to do that. When they get old, we're probably going to be on the gold system by the time we make it to the hereafter. But I'm going to teach my child, no, I'm starting you off now. I'm going to start raising you up, and then when you start getting into them, I'm going to take my child out, show them bills and everything. I'm going to teach my son how to cook. All of that, and just things like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like with the whole, all I gotta do is feed you, clothe you, make sure you have somewhere to live. That's not.
No, that's not taking care of a child. I mean, it is. It's taking care of a child, but alternatively, you can take care of a pet the same way.
Yeah, just making sure that they have stuff to survive. Honestly, is the bare minimum. And don't have children if you're not prepared to do that. Like, that is the bare minimum. What you need to do is create people, like human beings with intelligence in all walks of life, emotionally, academically, financially, all that stuff. So that when they go out into the world, there's very little left to figure out. It's just basically coming into who they are. Like,
facts. And it doesn't matter if they're your biological children or your stepchildren.
Mm-hmm.
You don't treat them like the stepmother did Cinderella.
You don't do that.
And she was just hating. That's the crazy part.
And also, if you have children who you are raising to basically do the housework that you don't want to do no more, there's another issue there. That kind of goes like, you, at a certain point, you just be like, dishes, like, yes, you have to do that. 100% have to do that.
Yeah, of course.
Be clean. Yeah. But like, don't basically just be like,
don't do it so you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
I shouldn't have to. I fed you. I gave you a household. As you should have. I'm sorry. If you didn't do that, you would be in jail.
Yikes. Why would you say something so controversial? That's so brave.
Yeah.
Points noted. Of course, this has to be said in the proper context. Yes, you have to do these chores and everything, but these aren't for you're doing this, so now I have to sit back and do nothing. No, this is still your household. You still have to manage it. And these children are going to move out, and you're going to have to go back to doing it anyway. You're teaching them this, so when they get out, they will have these life skills to manage for themselves.
And basically what I'm saying is just not to just treat children as like robots with responsibilities and doing things, and just be like basically doing these things as a favor. Well, thank you for helping me survive. Thank you for giving me food so I'm not dead. Then like that's not, it's not, once you said, it's like life skills. You're not, I'm not doing this to basically pay you back, because having a child is an active choice that you made. Especially having more than one. Like, it's an active choice. It is. So to be like, basically saying you own me.
Random comment out there, we in the Nation of Islam, and this is not to shade anyone. I'm grateful for all the nieces and nephews that I've seen, but we do believe in condoms, guys. We do. I'm just gonna throw that out there for any future couples. Don't have a child if you are not ready to have a child.
Because then you can't take it out on the child. I don't know if you saw Little Fires Everywhere.
I haven't seen Little Fires Everywhere. I have not.
There was this character arc where she had like her fourth child. Basically, her husband basically coerced her into having it because she didn't want to. And obviously, we don't do abortion. Adoption is definitely an option. And the child got it taken out on her because she wasn't really she wasn't prepared to have another child. She was up at 3, and that a child can always tell when
they're not the love child. They were that pardon the phrase, bastard child that wasn't supposed to be there. They were the accident. The unplanned child. Even because Black people love to joke. We love to joke about things that are like serious things. To even like joke around and say certain things, and it kind of goes into like emotional trauma. If you say things about your child, and especially because like one thing about your brain, it cannot differentiate a self-deprecating joke and the real thing. So don't self-deprecate yourselves, people. I have to work on that myself. No, but your brain cannot tell the difference between a joke and reality. So if they hear it enough as like a joke, like,
oh, you know, she's not the sharpest knife in the box, and oh, jokes.
Yeah, he's not. All the lights aren't upstairs. You know,
Yeah,
sorry
the
about that,
elevator
guys.
can go all the way up to the 10th floor. All them jokes. I was gonna be like, am I like, like, or even like toxic positivity, because you've heard about the gifted kid burnout syndrome. You're constantly they constantly being like, oh, my child is and basically looking down on, because sometimes children fail, sometimes things go wrong, sometimes you don't understand something, and basically being like, because there's this toxic positivity and just being like, you're a god and that's it. Because Master Prophet Muhammad had to study, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad had to study, Honorable Miss Farrakhan had to study,
and it's still studying.
There's nothing wrong with
being a student. There's nothing wrong.
There's nothing wrong with being a student. There's nothing wrong with review. There's nothing wrong with going back over something. There's nothing wrong with messing up. It doesn't mean that you're less smarter than you were before. And so the whole, what happened to you? You used to be at the top of your class, or the grade above, or like, that's damaging. Because now
instead of going to them and saying, hey, I see you're not as performing as good as you used to. What's been happening? Are you okay?
I can help you with? Is there something tough on you? Do you need to sit with do you need help? Do you need extra help? And just to be like, and even if you do need extra help, it doesn't mean that you're not smart. It just means that you need to go over something. Like, it's very counterproductive to treat a child like school is something they excel at or they don't. Because then it's like, it goes into everything you do. Because it's like some children will not trust their own opinions.
And that's painful.
Yeah, trust them. Because you could have an opinion about something, and then somebody you like can directly counter your opinion, and you'd be like, oh, that must be right then. Well, that could be wrong. And then you can also easily be manipulated, gaslit.
You don't go with your gut anymore. And that's something I had to struggle with. That's something I personally had to struggle with.
Me too, because it's like, if I'm speaking, because honestly, I'm gonna be honest here, I was really like teetering on coming on here, because I was like, I'm gonna analyze this episode over and over and over and over again, trying to figure out if what I said was wrong or right, if I sounded stupid and and something I'm still.
And me as the host, I was going to tell you, no, you did not. I'm literally putting this right here in the video, so when you get to this point in the episode, I'm going to tell you, you did absolutely fine.
Thank you.
Stop.
And I really have to pressure myself to do things and talk in public and say things and stand on my own opinion, because I am a very capable and smart person. But when you deal with stuff like that, because gifted kid burnout syndrome. I've been at a high school reading level since I was in the 3rd grade. Math, don't ask me, but everything English.
The honesty, math always gets all the Muslims.
Like,
this problem is mathematics, son. It's mathematics. Why can't you figure it out? You're supposed to be a god, bro.
Woo, please. That's another conversation.
Math.
I'm
just not getting.
But I've been a gifted child in terms of English and reading and all that stuff. So I call I'm a perfectionist. I'm a short-tempered perfectionist. Oof. The minute it doesn't come out the way that I want it to,
you get really like, oh, it's wrong. I have to do it over. I can't believe this.
I'm the perfectionist that gives up. I'm like, you know what? No. Literally, just like, it's not in my life.
Put it down. Don't even look at it.
It's not happening. It's not happening. So, like, it's just a lot of things, and like, there's so many different ways that a child can take certain things, and really, it's not we always get this label that this generation is too sensitive, but it's really just like, some things you just don't do, or some things you correct, and because sometimes things happen. We're all human beings, but you have to be able to correct yourself. Humility. Isn't that what we freaking the study guide right now? Humility.
Be humble. Sit down.
Low.
Factual.
It's just,
and it's not the easiest thing.
It's not.
Take it from someone who's learning this. The whole situation earlier, sometime last year. You know the one. I had to humble myself, and it was hard. I was literally fighting with that ego, and something in my mind was just like, no, I understand how you feel. but how you did it, no, nope.
And it's you really just have to trust the intelligence and the emotional intelligence of children. Because if you want to do the overlap on Disney, people really underestimate how children take things. Because like I said earlier, with Soul and Inside Out and
another powerful movie, Soul, Inside Out,
with like themes that are very intelligent, and they're like, this isn't a kids movie, this isn't for children, they don't understand stuff like that. So completely underestimate and take for granted
child's intelligence,
the fact that a child can very much, because like a lot of children, Inside Out is like one of their favorite movies, and they might not be able to, or like children loved Soul, and then I may not be able to understand like the power, the whole thing with Joe and his finding his purpose and they may not understand that, but 22 storyline, they got that. They got not knowing, sometimes just being told things is not going to, it's not going to resonate with you. Sometimes you have to see things and experience things for yourself. They understand hearing that they're impossible to teach and not knowing how to deal with that. They've dealt with that. They know how that feels, and they can understand that 100%. And it's doubting the fact that children understand stuff like that really damages them, to be like, you're too young to have business, and which I mean, that's like a touchy subject, because sometimes you try to keep secrets from your parents, and parents like, you don't got business. And that's one thing where I'm like, okay, but like, just like your emotions don't count, or when you have this opinion, it's directly contradictory to my opinion, so your opinion does not count, instead of being like, okay, let me tell you why this is wrong, or even they could be right. Like, because I'm not going to sit here and act like that children are just like always right, and parents need to understand.
No, definitely not.
That's
no one's ever always right, unless they're God.
But sometimes people are going to be right, and sometimes they're wrong. But instead of debunking the fact that they have an opinion in general and just saying, okay, I understand what you're saying, but no, is important, instead of being like, girl, shut up. Like, like
there's a difference. There's a difference.
It's like, it's just have to realize that, yes, children have things to learn and they're coming into their own, but don't take like them coming into their own and be like, basically like, cut it off at the knees. Let them. Communication is important. Talk to them. Say things like, have these conversations, because you can't bark out just orders and because I said so. It's like, yes, because we know discipline.
You have to communicate now. You absolutely have to communicate now.
Have to communicate, because especially like learning, like, okay, so I'm on a committee planning an event. Come for Savings Day, and I've noticed with my team, which I love my team, we become such a family, such a close-knit family. But I've noticed that in our meetings, we kind of like, we all repeat things to like basically understand it in our own words. And it's very like different children and different people, all people, parents and children, children and children, parents have different types of way that they retain information. And it doesn't mean that anybody's right or wrong. It just means that everybody should take the time to understand. So that's when you have to sit down and have conversations with people and really just like break things down, especially with a lot of children, more than less than others, but you still have to do it, period. So and to like dismiss the need for conversation is because you feel like, once again, there's this hierarchy and that I shouldn't have to tell myself I'm the parent. That's not how that works. Or like when a child, okay, for example,
because after you, they're on their journey with Allah ultimately,
right?
So you have to be like, and it's funny because it's similar to the conversation I was having with my wife about teaching. The goal of the teacher is to set that student up so they'll be successful, not to get them through the FCAT or the SAT or the ACT and then be done, collect a check and take in the next batch of students. No. A teacher wants their student to surpass them in every way, shape, or form. And that's what a parent should want for their child. Your child is not going to do things better than you did if you're showing them something that is going to make them feel, going to make them think, going to make them be lesser than.
Make them feel inferior.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just like a lot of times it's like because you once again take things, you can't be a person. And it kind of goes into like a parent's own childhood trauma is making and being like, if I'm not loud enough, if I don't shut this down, I kind of feel like if I'm wrong here, that kind of diminishes my worth as a person or as a parent, or as I'm doing this wrong or I'm wrong and which is why it's very important to have these conversations, because not only will parents think about how they treat their children, but how they were treated and how they don't want to feel like that again. A lot of times parents go through like, back with spanking, it's like, I'm doing this because I love you, and you may not see why I'm right now, but you'll see later. And so like, even though I didn't like this as a child, my parent did say that they were right, and I think I'm fine. Like if I don't look too deep into my thoughts and sit in the dark for too long alone with no music or anything, I'm fine. I think I'm an okay person. I have friends, I have family, I have people who love me and I don't think I'm like this super crazy person, and I still have coherent thoughts. And you don't have to be completely like out of your mind to have a mental illness. Let's start there. Or even to just have trauma. You don't have to be mentally ill to have trauma either. And so that's
how engrams work, basically. They come up out of nowhere and you be like, what is this?
Right. And sometimes, and a lot of times, trauma deals and messes with your memory. So you're like, okay, I don't remember any of that actually, which is why auditing is important. Get audited. So, but to feel like instead of being like, I didn't like this, so I'm not going to do this to my child, it's like, I didn't like this, but my parent did say that it was the right thing to do, so I think I'm just going to continue. It was like, in short,
before we go into our Disney, because we are over the usual hourly time, we knew we were going to go over. To all the parents who may come across this video, I would like to say, if we didn't say it in the beginning, I don't think we did, but this is not a parent bashing session. This is not, because this is, this is coming from a place of, we want better for you all, and we want better for us who are going to be the future parents of children. And the methods back then, they won't work now. They won't work now. Communication, transparency, and vulnerability to an extent. As they get older, of course, that vulnerability opens up more. But those three things and a bunch of other things as well.
And like vulnerability to an extent, because a lot of times when you're too vulnerable with a child who's too young to understand certain things, your child will start to form this like guilt about how you feel, and maybe even take on like, is it my fault that you feel that way, or did it? So really to an extent,
you have to be careful.
And humility, 100%, but vulnerability to an extent.
Humility, that's a big one right there, because it's not like what you're saying isn't, it's not. We're not telling you that what you're saying is not law. But for starters, number one, you all were placed here by Allah to give birth to us, to get us ready for our future journey. That's number one. Ultimately, we are all Allah's. Ultimately. Number two, what may have seemingly worked for you, and I say seemingly because you may operate based on things that have been done to you in the past, and you may not know, which is why we're stressing. Get audited. You have to operate differently if you want to get different results in how you came up with, especially if we're talking about taking your child and putting them up, even taking them to heights that you couldn't make yourself, so that when you pass, that child will be able to say, wow, look at what my parent left for me. Look at what my parent, look at the level they were able to get me to. And now I'm able to do all of this and that because of them. and I love them for it. And now I'm going to take what they left me, build on that, and leave that for my child, and then their grandchildren, and so on and so forth. We want healthy relationships with our children and grandchildren, and our parents and grandparents. Then that's how it should be. Because if there's no, in the Nation of Islam, where family is an important thing. If the family's not right, what makes you think the rest of the nation is? They go hand in hand. They go hand in hand.
Dealing with somebody else's child, like in the mosque, and like, why are you crying? You a soldier. Straighten up. Like, to completely, like, once again, not take children's emotions seriously. It's how you deal with other people's children. Because I will say, from examples that I have, not necessarily anybody particular, I thought certain ways that I deal with children were the right way to deal with children. And I was at MUI, and a lot of I had to step back and be like, no, that doesn't seem right, doesn't feel right. I need to really just like be more empathetic to these children, even because even though they're 5 and 6, they still know how they feel and why they like communication. Once again, so be like, right. Why did you do that? Because I did tell you, and like conversation, and just how you deal with other people's children. Because once again, if you're not right at home, how do you think the nation is? And if you're treating children the way you thought it was okay because you turned out fine, it's just tough love and that's not, first of all, that's not what tough love is. That's one. And two, like, that's not, because you being not even like an intricate part in somebody's life could mess somebody up by one thing you said or one thing you did. Completely like twist the way somebody's brain works, or how they see things, how they see themselves. So really just like, even if you're not a parent, watch how you talk to other people's children.
Facts. We're going to put a pin in this because I think we've said, I believe, everything there is to be said. And we're going to leave a couple more minutes because we did say we were going to talk about Disney. And we touched on it a little bit with Soul, definitely, and Inside Out. Those movies are perfect. Those are family movies, in my opinion. They're not for just children. They're not for just adults. Those are family movies. And everyone should watch those in particular. But what were your favorite Disney movies coming up?
Lion King. I could watch Lion King. I can quote Lion King. Lion King is my favorite nostalgic childhood movie. I love that movie. It's so good. It's just such a good movie.
A lot of lessons in Lion King.
The soundtrack, and like
soundtrack slaps.
I didn't particularly love the live action because it kind of felt like a deconstruction of my favorite movie, and that's my favorite movie. So
I'm not a fan of any of the live action remakes they've done. I feel like some things should just be left alone. Come up with new ideas. In my humble opinion. Yeah. That's why I feel like Pixar has no misses. Pixar in particular.
100% Pixar is 100% better than Disney. I am a Disney.
With the exception of Cars 3 and Cars 2.
I liked Cars 2. I did. I knew I was gonna get crucified for it, but I did like Cars 2. I like the whole aspect of cars being spies. It's just my personal like enjoyment.
I do like Mater, but I was just like, I felt like there was like, it's like when you watch I don't know if you watch. It's like watching, and personally for me, it's like watching a filler. I'm just like, why am I watching this filler? This filler does nothing for the story. Why is this here? Am I slightly entertained by it? Maybe. Do I really need to watch this? No, I don't.
I didn't watch Cars 3 because I was like
I felt the only time I never felt that way is when I watched all the Toy Story movies. Those were also favorites of mine. 4 felt, huh?
With the exception of 4, I did not like 4.
Really? It's funny because we're on opposite sides of the spectrum. I kind of liked 4 because it was just like, of course, the main story was done and they went to college, etc., etc. But Woody didn't really let go. And, you know, it was time for Woody, you know.
I had it in my brain that Bonnie was going to walk in on them talking in the 4th one. So I had already constructed this story of them getting caught talking and moving around. I had already done it. So when they announced that they were doing the 4th one, I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. Then the trailer dropped and the movie dropped. And I was like, I mean, I guess, but I had set myself up for
I love
the
how they made Bo Peep hardcore. They made her hardcore, and I was just like, okay then. My favorite Disney movie though forever will always be Meet the Robinsons. The story was good. I love things with time travel in it because I'm a nerd. And just the whole lesson. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. You're gonna have all of these failures in life. You're gonna keep failing, but you keep going until you reach that level up. Don't quit just because you keep failing. Eventually you're going to reach that success that you want, but you have to keep working for it. And that was the whole thing. That was the whole thing behind it. Even at the end, where that movie's been out for a long time. I feel like this really isn't spoilers. If you didn't see Meet the Robinsons, get off my show right now.
Right. How did you not see
Like,
Meet
how
the
have you not
Robinsons?
seen it?
That formed a lot of people's childhoods. Let me tell you that right now.
Yes, Meet the Robinsons was amazing. But the ending where he's looking at his future self with all the crazy inventions and his future self, he said, that one in the corner is my proudest one. And it was the one from the past. And then he was just like, so does it end up working? He said, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to let you figure that out for yourself. And then he was, I knew you were going to say that. He said, that's because we are one smart kid. I was just like,
Aww.
And then how everything was just, even though with all of his failures, his life was slowly piecing itself together properly. Of course, he had the advantage of knowing some of his future. He didn't know exactly, but he knew some things, and everything was just coming together. And then the song starts, and I forget how it starts. He said, "Just let it in." Let it roll right off your shoulder. And that's the part that always gets me, because I'm just like breathing that sigh of relief that you finally realize, okay, everything is going to be okay. Just let it go and just keep moving forward. And I was just like, oh, I'm getting teary just thinking about it. Jesus.
My favorite Disney movie that's not like rooted in nostalgia, because it came out when I was younger, but Tangled
is amazing.
Tangled is the best story of our time, and I will die on that hill. Mulan is rooted in nostalgia, but just because she's a woman who saved China. And then Princess and the Frog is rooted in nostalgia, but I have an unpopular opinion about that one.
What popular opinion? I'm curious.
They completely messed it up, and it's not even just like she's the frog 70% of the movie. That too, but they completely made this whole, I'm an independent Black woman, I don't need no man. Got the man, yes, great, and in her dream, but she was willing to give it all up by the end for the man. They completely builded her up to be this person who would not let nothing go until she got what she wanted for her and for her father, but mostly for her, because she loved to cook and she wanted her restaurant. She had the whole vision in her mind, but because she found love, she was willing to give it all up and live her life as a frog and make gumbo and a pumpkin for the rest of her life. I'm sorry. I don't appreciate that. I did not like that at all.
I think I do like how because I feel that very strongly. But I like how they wrapped it up at the end, where she ended up making the decision, going back to being a human, and then her now husband pulled some strings and helped her to become successful and whatnot. So I'm glad they wrapped that all up, and she ended up changing her mind and all sort of.
They didn't know they were gonna be human again. They had no idea. Mama Odie ain't tell them. They had no idea. They were ready she was ready to give it all up. And Naveen had nothing to lose. Sorry, he was broke. He had nothing to lose. He was just happy that he found
a broke prince
to settle with. She was like, she had goals.
And she was ready to give it all up. Yeah.
And she was ready to give it all up because I have what I needed. I have love. You can have love in a business, and you can have, first of all, love for your business. So I didn't like that.
I feel that. It doesn't
sit right with me. I still watch the movie. The music slaps. If she wasn't a frog for 70% of the movie, I would love to see the music on Broadway. But
I loved the Witch Doctor. He was my favorite.
Yes, that's one of my favorite
Are
villain.
you ready?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite villain songs.
Yes. A favorite of mine. This is all the woke Muslims are gonna be mad at me for this one, but Tarzan. Tarzan was a definite favorite of mine.
First of all, Phil Collins, one of the best
Phil Collins. See, I knew you would.
composers they have
See?
on their team. Yes.
Oh my God, I wanna know. Can you shine it? I wanna know about the
And
strangers.
even like Brother Bear. Did you see Brother Bear?
I recently saw Brother Bear. My wife is a huge Disney fan, and we have Disney Plus. So we've been on our occasions. We've been watching whatever Disney movies that I haven't watched or she hasn't watched. I watched that, and she also put me on to The Sound of Music. So that was actually really good too. And I was just like, wow, she really got me watching The Sound of Music. Can't believe it. And Brother Bear was great. Brother Bear
and
hit
Phil
me right
Collins
there.
slapped on that. And then
Mhm.
second one isn't the best movie I've ever seen, but one of my favorite songs of like the entire world. Like, I swear to God, if I wouldn't get laughed at, I would play at my wedding. Favorite songs, feels just like home. I've Melissa somebody, and it's just look up Brother Bear 2 soundtrack, and it'll be one of my favorite songs ever. And I think Phil Collins helped write that. So
Phil Collins was dope. It sucks that he went tone deaf and stopped singing, but yeah.
He should just keep. I just think he should just like keep writing. Like, it doesn't mean your life is over.
Be a ghostwriter. Be a ghostwriter for a lot of great songs. We need it.
People are still gonna give you the credits because of how well you've done this entire time.
Facts. Classic Disney movie. Only because all of the music on there slaps, and you know I'm a cat person. The Aristocats.
Never seen it.
You've never seen the Aristocats?
I try to stay away from like old Walt Disney movies, only because I get the themes like bother me like on a soul level, just because of how like Disney. I'm a Disney fan, but I will never not acknowledge the fact that Walt Disney was like one of the worst people that's ever lived.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And,
some of the themes were very questionable.
Yeah, so I stay away from like old like before Renaissance. I don't watch. I don't.
I would say, as far as old Disney movies, Peter Pan, that was a good one to me. The Aristocats, and
I do like Lady and the Tramp, but it was very
Lady and the Tramp.
Cats. That part really bothers me. But
the Siamese Cats.
Yeah, I really do like that movie though.
Yeah, the Siamese Cats were a little racial. So a little racial. What else? Dumbo had a whole lot of Dumbo was oof.
And didn't they remake that? I've never seen it.
I don't think they remade it, but to my knowledge. But Dumbo had it. When I found out those were black men putting the tent up, and I was just like,
there was full Jim Crow, like
full of it.
Full.
The clothes were representative. Were supposed to represent like lazy black men. And I was just like,
let's talk about the fact that Princess and the Frog is in the Jim Crow era.
Really? Whoa, hold up.
In the South.
You know what? I just Yep. Makes sense.
The first black princess.
In the Jim Crow era.
1920s.
In
the South.
And that just hit me.
But that bothers me every time. And then it's and then the only thing they did was like to recognize this was a woman of your background. That thing when she couldn't get the restaurant. That's the only quote they made to like point out.
It was slight. It was very slight.
Yeah, they could have put her in like 2.
I can't end the show without saying this movie. Big Hero 6.
I love that movie.
Big Hero 6.
I don't like it. I love that movie. People don't like that movie.
People have no taste.
First of all, I went to New York in December 2019, and I went right into that Disney store and I tried to get a Baymax. They were not selling them at the time, but I just wanted one. I love that movie. It bothers me very much that the brother had to die, but whatever. I get the plot. I get it.
Superhero movie. The older brother's got to die before he becomes a superhero. Has to. Relative got to die. That's all superhero tropes. Can't escape it. Got to. It's what gave us Spider-Man. It's what gave us the X-Men. Sort of. Yeah. Got to have someone important to you die or become debilitated for you to. You know what? This is my motivation to become a superhero now. So it works. But Betamax was my favorite part about all of it because that face.
Yeah.
But he was just like assistant. He was just like, "You seem troubled. Would you like a hug?" I was just like, Betamax needs to be there. It needs to be made.
Betamax?
Every person, yes.
Baymax.
Baymax, my fault.
Baymax.
He needs to be put in everyone's home. You know, the check-in of everybody.
Yeah, we definitely need to create a Baymax. I would love a Baymax. You know, it makes me feel way more comfortable about the whole doctor situation, especially with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I would need a Baymax like in my house, like stationed, 100%.
He'd be able to scan us perfectly. He's like, you seem to have a high temperature, but no COVID symptoms.
COVID free.
Mm-hmm. COVID free.
Yeah, no Q-tips to the brain thing. We would need.
Oh no, please, God, not again. No. Worst Disney movie you've ever watched?
Oh. I don't know. You answer first. Let me look through my Disney Plus thing, huh?
Pocahontas. Period.
Oh, Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, that one too. That one too.
The opening sequence when they first meet, the Once Upon a Dream thing, the direct assault, being like, I don't know you, please stay away from me. He's pulling on her. I know you. No, that is scary. And first of all, Maleficent did it justice because like the whole Maleficent, I like her arc way better than the whole like.
Mm-hmm.
But Sleeping Beauty, Snow White too. Snow White has no plot. No plot. And the necrophilia at the end.
Wait, what? Oh wait, that's why my wife told me Snow White was 14 and the prince was a lot older.
Yep.
Oof.
There's pedophilia, but necrophilia is the attraction to dead people. And
oh, because Snow White was supposed to be dead.
Yep. He's giving her a kiss goodbye. He didn't know that she was gonna wake up.
Can't look at these Disney movies the same.
Oh, Disney?
Oh, Winnie the Pooh. I have to say this, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up in a bow. Mm-hmm. All the different Winnie the Pooh characters were supposed to be representations of different ailments, diseases, or
adult themes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tigger was 80. I think it was ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
Eeyore was depression.
Yeah.
Piglet was ADD, I think.
Yeah, and anxiety, like social anxiety too.
Mm-hmm. Pooh was Down syndrome.
That's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
That's I don't like that.
And Christopher Robin was schizophrenia.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. What? Oh, speaking of schizophrenia, Phineas and Ferb is schizophrenia. Candace, imagine Phineas and Ferb because it's like a.
Is this a theory or this is actually proven?
I read. I don't know if it's a proven theory, but it is an article about how Candace it was a real life story about how her brothers died, and so she imagined them doing crazy things, and that's why the mom.
Sounds like a Tumblr theory.
I don't know, but this is what I heard. I'm gonna say allegedly. Allegedly.
We're gonna say allegedly because that is dark for a cartoon. That is.
All cartoons are dark, man.
I mean, yeah. But yeah.
But that's what I heard is that she imagined, and that's why the mom never believed her because they didn't exist.
Yo, that makes sense. Oh no. We're gonna wrap it up there. Siyyan, Sister Siyyan, thank you for being on the Cookie Talks podcast. Any closing statements that you would like to make?
Yeah, all that did communicate with their children, and Pixar is better than Disney. That's all I have.
I mean, Pixar is Disney, but Disney Pixar is best Disney.
Better, yeah, best Disney, best side.
Thank you for being on the show. For those of you who don't know, this will be the last episode until after Savior's Day season has passed. No, I will not be doing any bonus Savior's Day episodes this year because Savior's Day will be virtual. So it's, I can't really talk about a physical experience because I won't physically be there. Maybe. As far as Savior's Day is concerned, I will be on the Defending Farrakhan panel, which is part of the NOI Youth Retreat or Summit. Retreat?
It's retreat, yeah.
Retreat. You all do not want to miss that. It's going to be wonderful. Do your registration for Savior's Day. I believe that's open now to the public.
Yes,
I believe.
and the
Yes.
link for the youth retreat is on the page for registration for Savior's Day. So make sure you come. I am the programming head of that team. Me and my team have put a lot of work into this. So we really hope that you guys can make it. We're also having a social Saturday night, 7 to 10, from ages 13 to 25.
I'm too old. I can't be
there. That you guys can make that too. So you guys can meet all your fellow believers. Virtually, but make sure you get connections, friends. I've made a lot of friends. So like, we want to make sure you guys make them too. So,
well, this has been a wonderful episode. I will see you all again in March, where the guest will be her friend Najia.
Yeah,
and it's going to be absolutely spectacular as always. So until next time, this has been the Kareem Talks podcast. I'm Kareem. That is Siyyan. And see you next time. Peace. See ya.